Here we often look towards the medicinal mushrooms. Now, we're not talking about things like button mushrooms or portobello mushrooms that you might find on your pizza. This is an elite class of mushrooms
Yeah.
generally found growing on trees as opposed to growing
Mm.
in the ground. Some of the most powerful ones here would be turkey tail. This is a really important one for people to know about because it is the most commonly prescribed natural treatment by doctors for women with breast cancer, which is something that
Oh,
many, many women sadly go through. And
turkey tail.
turkey tail, yeah.
Hmm.
And there's some push happening to limit people's access to it.
If you're somebody who's looking for enhance the overall health of your body, improve the function of your hormonal system, your nervous system, your immune system, this is going to be a podcast that you're going to enjoy. So stay with us and enjoy this conversation. People don't know when I talk about adaptogens and medicinal herbs, people don't know what the hell is that.
There's a number of ways that you can explain what they are. I think the first thing to understand is that most herbs in the world push your body in one specific direction. Maybe you have an herb to suppress the immune system. Maybe you have an herb to activate the immune system. Maybe you have an herb to really wake you up. Maybe you have something like valerian to make you feel tired. An example of something to wake you up could be like tea leaves, for example, or coffee beans, right?
Coffee.
And so nobody wants to drink coffee late at night generally because it's not going to let you go to sleep. It is pre-decided what effect is going to be happening in your body. The idea with adaptogens is that they enhance your body's self-regulatory mechanisms. Your body, you come with already built in the ability to adapt to various challenges and situations. You go out in the heat, you start sweating. If you're too cold, you start shivering. Your body is built to adapt and respond in different ways to different circumstances. And generally what adaptogens are doing is strengthening your body's own self-regulatory mechanisms. So an example of a great adaptogen would be gynostema leaf. This is something that grows in southern China, and it is something that is going to give you more energy if you're tired and help you produce more energy in your body. But if you're overly stressed, it's going to help you feel more relaxed. It's not a sedative, it's not a stimulant. It just kind of gives you this feeling of peaceful invigoration, which is really kind of the ultimate state of being.
How is that working? Something that is giving you a lot of energy and at the same time is calming your system.
So it can happen in a number of ways. One is going to be that it's calming your nervous system, right? So any overactivation in the nervous system is going to be brought down. On the other hand, it's also supporting your mitochondria, which is what produces the energy for your body. You can also have herbs, for example, like cordyceps, which is a fungi that improves your oxygen utilization. So more oxygen makes it different to different parts of your body. It's not something that's going to keep you up at night, but if you decide to do something physical or do something mentally intense because you have this extra oxygen in your blood and your muscles and your brain, you're going to be performing better.
For example, when you're taking vitamins and you have an oversupply of vitamins, the liver is releasing these vitamins. I mean, it's getting rid of them.
Right.
I think I read something that the adaptogens are stored in the body.
So these things can get stored in the body, and they do have a lasting effect. So it's not that your body's taking an entire reishi mushroom, for example, or ashwagandha root and sticking the entire thing somewhere. But these compounds, they can stick around for a while. Usually most of them are excreted within 12 hours, but their effect doesn't stop just because they left the body. They have, you hear people say in relationships often, leave the other person better than you found them at the very least, right?
Yeah.
Adaptogens are like that. They come in, they strengthen your body's own self-regulatory capabilities, and then they leave. But it's like somebody who came into a relationship with you and built you up into a better person. Maybe the relationship didn't work out, but you've grown as a person and you're stronger and more resilient because of it. Adaptogens are like that. Or like a house guest who comes, hangs out for a while, you have a good time, and they leave, but they actually cleaned up your house and installed some new stuff in your kitchen so that your kitchen works better. That's the way adaptogens are working.
Oh, that sounds awesome. So, what are the effects of the adaptogens in the body? Are they working in the endocrine system? Are they working in the nervous system? Are they working on a cellular level?
And this will vary a little bit from one adaptogen to the next. Different adaptogens will have different organ systems, for example, that they are more specifically affecting. And so when you look at this class of herbs, the adaptogens, there will be some that have stronger effects in certain areas and stronger effects in other areas. For example, if we were to take reishi mushroom, people think of it a lot as an herb to take for stress resilience, and that's probably one of its greatest things. It's stress resilience and also its spiritual effects. But also, reishi is going to be very supportive of liver health, for example, and also very supportive of lung health. And another herb that's great in the liver department is Schisandra. It supports stage 1 and stage 2 liver detoxification. And if somebody, for example, is coming off of having problems with addiction in their past, say, this can be a really great thing to get them onto to help restore the detoxification capabilities of the liver, which may have been overburdened over a very long period of abuse. And then also, Schisandra is an amazing one for sharpening the mind. You drink some Schisandra, you can take an extract powder and put it in some hot water, and you drink that tea, or you can even take a little bit of the powder and put it on your tongue. And it's a very exciting flavor. It's simultaneously Schisandra. Well, I should say this. Schisandra in the Chinese system is known as Wu Wei Zi, which means the 5 flavor fruit. So it's simultaneously sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and pungent. And so it's got, you can tell from this broad array of flavors, it's got a lot going on. So as soon as this hits your tongue, it wakes your brain up. It opens your eyes. It gives you this really excited, happy feeling because it's activating, I think, so many elements of your system. And so it's a great one for the brain and for focus, but also it helps you stop stressing as much. Schisandra is what's considered a locking herb, and this helps to effectively stop you from what the Taoists would call leaking Jing, or leaking your vital essence in terms of spending your core energy reserves in a way that is going to lead you to be depleted.
Is there any relation between adaptogens and achieving some kind of longevity?
Yes, absolutely. And you may hear the word adaptogens often combined or used interchangeably with tonic herbs. And this reaches back into the traditional Taoist herbal system, where in order for an herb to be considered an elite tonic herb, it's a very elite class with a small number of herbs in the whole system that actually make it into this elite class. The herb has to, by default, be adaptogenic. In addition to being adaptogenic, by default, they have to be something that is extending longevity. So when we think about what the Taoists call the Jing, which is your core kidney adrenal essence, it's your savings account of energy that you inherit from your parents and you use up little by little as you go through life. And you can use this at a faster rate or a slower rate. If you want to use it faster, you got to want to stress a lot. You want to party hard. You want to eat a poor diet. You want to not sleep. And here you are not living sustainably. So you're constantly having to dip into these energy reserves. And by doing so, you are effectively shortening your life. You may have a very exciting life, but it might not be a very long one, unfortunately. Whereas on the other hand, with these adaptogens, they actually help to rebuild those energy reserves, effectively putting more money into your energy savings account and extending your lifespan. As you're going through life, you're actually building these credits that you have. So yeah, you will have, difficult life experiences sometimes. You will have stress. It's not that you're never going to stress again. Things will happen. Life can be challenging, but you will have the adaptability when that stress comes. You will have the resilience. And if the stress maybe does overwhelm you a little bit, you still will have those deep reserves to pull from because you haven't wasted them living unsustainably, and you've spent time building them through the use of these adaptogenic herbs. When we look at these Jing herbs, things like cordyceps, Hoshu Wu, Cistanche, Eucomia, Rehmannia, these are some of the real greats in that category.
Tonic herbs are the same as adaptogens. any medicinal herb an adaptogen, or there's a specific compound that you find or a specific function that the adaptogen herbs or fungi are having in the body to be named as an adaptogen?
There's a bit of overlap between the two categories of tonic herbs and adaptogens. So in the Taoist system, they had different classes of herbs. One herb, the lowest class, was the poisons. You only use these if you want to hurt somebody. And we don't want to do that, right? So the next class up from that was the medicinal herbs. These are the herbs that you take for a short period of time to cure a particular disease or ailment, fix some imbalance within the body, but you wouldn't take it for too long because taken long term, there can actually be some toxicity or some negative side effects that can develop. Then the third class is the superior class of herbs called tonic herbs. And these are the ones that, yes, they can actually be used to sort out a lot of imbalances and challenges in the body, but their ultimate purpose is to be taken in small amounts daily over the course of your life to build this foundation of strength and radiant health that you can build an extraordinary life on top of. So in order to be qualified to be a tonic herb, the herb must be adaptogenic, meaning it has to have what they call dual directional activity. It's not going to, like we were saying before, it's not going to come into your body and push your body to go in one way or another automatically. It's going to react to the internal chemistry of your body and what your body's going through. The compounds that we find in these adaptogenic tonic herbs that are doing this most commonly are the terpenes and also the beta-glucan polysaccharides. Those two are responsible for a lot of the effects that you see.
It's not bad for your health to take them as much as you want for as long as you want.
The idea is that anything taken in excess can become problematic. We can both agree water is really good for you. If you tried to drink 10 gallons every single day, that would be something like 40 liters, you'd have some problems. You wouldn't be feeling so great. So everything in the right amount, but these are designed to be taken in small to moderate amounts daily, ongoing, to really build your health to levels many people have never even experienced before.
So we're dealing right now in the world with so much anxiety, stress, and depression. Are the adaptogens a way to heal this or to cure this or to lower the levels of stress and anxiety in the people?
They're a great, powerful tool. There's, of course, many ways to approach this. And I would always encourage people to approach dealing with stress from multiple directions. Adaptogens are one way, and we'll talk in a moment about all the ways that they can be effective. But you also want to make sure you're sleeping well. You also want to make sure you're getting enough magnesium levels. You may want to make sure you're being physically active on a regular basis, maybe incorporating some kind of breath work or meditation. I know you do so much, Felipe, to help people in that department. And so you want to take a really well-rounded approach, but adaptogens can be a very powerful tool here, and they can actually really magnify the effects of what you're doing in other departments. Some of the biggest ones that I would look to for stress, I would say, are reishi mushroom, which we mentioned briefly earlier. Also from the Ayurvedic world, where we also find adaptogenic herbs, ashwagandha is another fantastic herb. Then you can also look at something like hoshu wu, which is a Chinese root that's used in this regard. Stress is so detrimental to the quality of everybody's lives, especially these days. And the more we develop technology and the further technology comes, we keep getting these promises of, oh, with this technology, you'll have less stress. Things will be taken care of for you. But if we take a real look at what's happened over the past 20 to 30 years, it's very rare to find somebody whose life is less stressful than it would have been in the 80s or the 90s. Like the more technology you get, it seems like the more is expected of you and the more you feel you need to do. So it's really high time for us to think about what can we do in our lives with what we're consuming and our daily practices to really increase our stress resilience, because the sources of stress from the outside are not stopping. And if we look at the trend, they're probably even going to get more intense. But what is within our control is our internal world and how we can fortify that through good sleep, through meditation, through breath work, through consumption of adaptogens, through healthy diet. That is something that we can take huge action on right now. And that way, when the tidal wave of stress comes, will be ready for it.
Mhm.
You can think of it like a tree. If a tree has just these really shallow roots that haven't gone very deep,
Mhm.
as soon as a big, tropical storm comes along, that tree is getting blown over.
Mhm.
But the tree that's been growing there for many years, digging its roots very deep, pulling nutrients from deep within the soil from
Mhm.
unique sources that these other shallower root trees aren't reaching into, that tree is
Mhm.
going to be fine when the storm comes.
Mhm.
Its leaves will blow around a bit. It'll know there's a storm happening, but it's not going to get blown over. And that's the thing. You want to get on these adaptogens before things get stressful, before the going gets rough, so that when that storm of stress hits you in your personal life, you'll be ready for it.
We are dealing with a lot of inflammation right now. I mean, uh, because of unhealthy nutritional habits. What are the adaptogens that are working the best to help the body to deal with the inflammation?
One of the foremost here is turmeric. Now, many adaptogens, almost all of them, will have beneficial effects on inflammation because of their dual directional nature. And this is another great example of what we mean by dual directional, because in some cases, you want to have more inflammation in the body. If you've just had an injury, right? If you've sprained your ankle, you've broken your leg, that place is going to swell up. And they used to say, oh, you want to put ice on it. You want to, take ibuprofen. You want to counteract that inflammation as quickly as possible. But the most recent research is actually saying the exact opposite, that you want heat to actually improve circulation, have more inflammation, and send the blood to that place so that it can go there and start repairing and doing the work that needs to be done. If you're not allowing this extra blood flow to go there, you're not going to be able to heal as quickly. So in some cases, you want inflammation. And so that's the beauty of things like adaptogens. They're not increasing inflammation. They're not decreasing inflammation. They're taking it to where it needs to be based on what's going on in your body right now. So turmeric is probably the ultimate in terms of anti-inflammatory herbs. The problem with turmeric is that it's very poorly absorbed. So anytime you're taking a turmeric supplement, you're probably going to see that it has a black pepper extract or something called bioperine in there. And this is to improve the absorption. And when you look at the way turmeric was traditionally consumed in Ayurvedic cuisine, there's always black pepper in there with it because it allows it to be more easily absorbed. But with modern technology, we can actually even go quite a bit further with this. And you'll see a form of turmeric called Meriva, Meriva. And this is what's called a phytosomal form of turmeric, which packs the turmeric molecule in a way that's extremely easily absorbed by your system. And so it's very, very effective. And this can be really transformational for people who deal with chronic inflammation, which is a huge driver of disease and a state that many people are unfortunately just stuck in. And next time you're having, your annual physical, getting some blood tests done, it's great for people to make sure they're looking at their inflammation numbers, which is generally going to be the C-reactive protein. And you really want to try and bring that down under control. And that's going to do so much for the quality of life and also your longevity.
Well, that's amazing. I didn't know turmeric was in the category of adaptogens.
Yeah, it is. It's funny because it's one of the ones that's probably the most well known, and people don't
Yeah.
think of it necessarily in that
Yeah.
way. But it's an amazing one in that way. But for example, like we talked about reishi mushroom, that has some great anti-inflammatory properties to it. Ashwagandha will
Mm.
have generally anti-inflammatory properties to it
Mm.
when you're in a state of chronic inflammation.
Mm. Mm.
Another amazing one that not many people are familiar with is mangosteen, but which I'm sure you've encountered in the
Mangosteen.
tropics.
Really?
Yeah, I know you grow that on your property, right?
I have a tree of mangosteen in my property. Yeah.
But here's the crazy thing. It's not the fruit inside. So when you open
Okay.
mangosteen, it's got this thick skin. It's like a centimeter thick,
Yeah.
like dark red purple skin.
Yeah.
You open that up. There's this delicious white sweet fruit inside. It's known as the queen of fruits because the Queen of England would get it brought over to her because it was so delicious.
Yes.
But the medicinal properties are not in the fruit. They're in the skin.
Oh.
Which is unfortunate because the skin tastes horrible. But
Yeah.
if you can find ways to consume small amounts of that skin, it contains compounds called xanthones, which are some of the most powerful anti-inflammatory compounds from nature known to man. And so this is another great anti-inflammatory to know about, especially because you've got it already growing.
Crazy. Actually, I try many mangosteens and I always bite. You bite the skin a little bit when you eat it, and it tastes a little bit bitter. and it
Right.
comes like a little juice that is very purple. So I guess all this purple and dark and reds are they're full of antioxidants. So
Right. Absolutely. And yeah, the mangosteen skin, it's tough to find a good way to consume it. If you take a bite of it, you'll find that it's like a persimmon that's not ripe. How they suck all the moisture out
mm,
of your mouth. It's not a
yeah,
good feeling. But if you can take a small amount, you can blend it up in a drink, or you
mm,
could
yeah.
dehydrate it and then put it in a blender to powder it down and then encapsulate it and take it like that. But it can be very, very powerful medicine in the anti-inflammatory department.
Amazing. I love mangosteen. It's one of my favorite fruits.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And just to comment a little bit more on how adaptogens can impact inflammation. A lot of people have inflammation relating to the elevated blood sugars that they're constantly dealing with, poor blood sugar management. Even if it's not diabetes, even if it's not quite even pre-diabetes, a lot of people have elevated blood sugar on an ongoing basis, or they have these blood sugar roller coasters that they're on. And that leads to systemic inflammation. And so many of these herbs that we talk about, reishi is a great example here, help to regulate blood sugar. Another one that's great in that department is blue butterfly flower, helps to regulate blood sugar. And so by doing that, it's not directly impacting inflammation. It's going further upstream, saying, what is the real source problem here? It's almost like adaptogens, they themselves come into your body and take a look at things from the holistic perspective. Okay, what's the root cause of what's going on here? And very often address that, and then things downstream get fixed. Same with hormones. Hormones are kind of like the master switches of your health, and these adaptogens often fix the hormones, and then a lot of stuff downstream gets fixed. But they don't even do it by fixing the hormones directly. They go further upstream, fix your stress, which is causing the problem with your hormones. That now your hormones are right. Now you're feeling better all the time. You're more energized. Your brain is working better. You have more drive. You'll be able to build more muscle, burn more fat. So it's about the way they go like to the top of the food chain of the problems going in your body. And then everything below kind of can naturally fall back into alignment.
Which are the best adaptogens for improving the immune system?
Here we often look towards the medicinal mushrooms. Now, we're not talking about things like button mushrooms or portobello mushrooms that you might find on your pizza. This is an elite class of mushrooms,
Yeah.
generally found growing on trees as opposed to growing in the ground. Some of the most powerful ones here would be reishi mushroom, which I feel like I've maybe mentioned 100 times, but I'm so passionate about that one. But
yeah.
also chaga mushroom, which we find growing in the northern regions of North America and Europe and Asia.
Mhm.
This is an amazing one growing on birch trees. Very, very powerful and delicious as well. Then another great tasting one, turkey tail. This is a really important one for people to know about because it is the most commonly prescribed natural treatment by doctors for women with breast cancer, which is something that
Oh,
many, many women sadly go through. And
turkey tail.
turkey tail, yeah.
Mhm.
And there's some push happening to limit people's access to it.
Mm.
So it's a great one to know about and be able to share with loved ones if the time ever comes. Hopefully it never does, but it's something that there is some push to limit access to it. So I just want to make sure everybody really knows about that one. Then another one would be coming from Brazil, known as agaricus. And the compounds in these mushrooms that are really affecting the immune system are called beta-glucans. These are long-chain polysaccharides, basically long-chain sugars. But even though they're sugars, they don't taste sweet, they don't affect your blood sugar, they're actually bitter in flavor. And these are up to like 3 feet long, but wrapped up into these tiny microscopic balls. And they come into your body, and your white blood cells see them, and they basically chop them up into smaller pieces. And they attach to your white blood cells. And basically, it's like an operating system upgrade for your immune system. They teach your body how to do its job better in terms of immunity. And then it gets real crazy because then your white blood cells can basically shoot them off like weapons against foreign invaders and pathogens. And so I think really the best metaphor I found is it's really like an operating system upgrade for your immune system.
We're dealing with that really heavy stuff here.
Yeah.
It's crazy how adaptogens are improving the whole overall well-being of the body.
Now, I know a lot of people will hear us talking about maybe 10, 20, 30 different herbs here and just be overwhelmed. Just pick one or two that you heard us mention that you found particularly interesting, and you start with those. And maybe you build it up to where you've got 10 different adaptogens at home, and
Mm.
you kind of take a few for a few weeks, then you take another few, and you kind of work your way through them based
Yeah.
on how your body's feeling and what you're going through.
Mm.
But don't feel overwhelmed. You can start with just one. You could take one of any of the herbs that we mentioned, and it will have a dramatic effect on improving your life over time. So I don't want people to feel like they have to do all of them all at once, or they're not going to get any benefits. Just one is an amazing way to start.
Which would be like the three adaptogens that we can start using or consuming.
First one I will mention that we haven't talked about yet is astragalus. This is a great herb for energy. It's traditionally one of the elite chi tonics in the Taoist system, and your chi is effectively your ability to extract energy from the air you breathe and the food you eat and produce this energy in your body. Astragalus is an energy tonic, but it's not a stimulant. It's improving your body's own ways of creating and extracting energy. So it's not something that you have to worry about, oh, am I taking this too late in the day, or is doing this too much going to deplete me? It's something you can have every single day. And it's one of the best herbs for people to start out with because it tastes delicious. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of these herbs, like reishi, for example, has very bitter flavors to it. So
Mm-hmm.
it can be a little bit of a hurdle for most people in the beginning if they're not used to bitter flavors in their cuisine, which in the Western world, unfortunately, a lot of the bitter compounds have been bred out of the food crops. So astragalus is something you can give to almost anybody in terms of wherever they're at. If they're coming straight off of junk food, if they're eating a really healthy diet, no matter what, they're probably going to really find it quite tasty. You can take a half teaspoon or a teaspoon, put it in some hot water, and it has this light vanilla graham cracker flavor to it
Mm.
that is really pleasant.
Oh,
And
that sounds
so,
really good.
yeah, and finding something that you're willing to do flavor wise is really important because
Mm-hmm.
the herbs that you don't take won't do anything for you. So
Mm-hmm.
figuring out what is actually reasonable and possible, because if I get you all hyped up on reishi, but you absolutely cannot stand the flavor, so you're just not going to take it at all and it just sits in your shelf, it's not good for anybody. So I love for people to have something like astragalus to start out with that's super easy to take. And then the other two I would put in here, I think, would be cordyceps, which is a fungi that we briefly mentioned, and this one is improving your oxygen utilization and your mitochondrial energy production. So on multiple levels, it's helping your body make more energy. And it's also really supportive of your hormone health, especially of testosterone synthesis in both men and women, not in a stimulating way, but in an adaptogenic way. So where they've seen testosterone already in the healthy range, it tends not to really affect it very much. But where testosterone is low, it helps to bring it up. It's really helping with immunity, helping with stress resilience, and it's a fantastic herb. Then I would say ashwagandha is another great option. Ashwagandha is an Ayurvedic herb that is considered by some to be the ultimate adaptogen because it's amazing for decreasing stress and anxiety, one of the best herbs in that department.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it also improves energy and endurance. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're getting ready to go to sleep, I will very frequently have ashwagandha as my part of my nighttime drink before going to bed. But if I'm making a pre-workout drink, I'm also putting ashwagandha in
Mm.
there. And so ashwagandha is also very supportive of your whole endocrine system. So it's helping men with testosterone. It's helping also with DHEA, which is sort of a hormonal precursor that a lot of people are deficient in, especially women. And it's also improving your results from training. So people find
Mm-hmm.
in the studies that they experience greater strength gains over
Mm.
a period of time when doing the same workout protocol. You get much better results when taking ashwagandha. And then if I could add a fourth, I will put my favorite reishi mushroom in there. But I would say those first three are super easy to get started with.
Mm-hmm.
Reishi is a
Yeah.
little more bitter, so you have to kind of
Mm-hmm.
embrace that. My favorite way to do it is you just take the reishi and you put it in like maybe 3 or 4 ounces of water, maybe like 100 milliliters of water that's like, like a drinkable hot temperature, like warm to hot. And you have it kind of like an espresso. And that way you're not having to drink a huge drink of this. You're having it quite concentrated. And you can really experience the benefits that way. And I think this is a great way actually for anybody to take an herb for the first time. Instead of putting it in some food, instead of putting it in a big smoothie, take it on its own in a couple ounces of hot water, maybe on an empty stomach, and just sip that and sit with it for 10, 15 minutes. You can meditate, you can sit still, you can sit quietly outside in nature, and just pay attention to the shifts that you feel in your body. It's like if you're meeting a new person, if you're going on a date with somebody for the first time, you don't necessarily want to take them to a crazy loud concert with a bunch of other people around, because you're not going to really be able to get to know each other and figure out what you think about each other. You want to take them on a more intimate date in a quiet restaurant, maybe with some nice lighting where it's, calm and peaceful and you're both relaxed, so you can get to know each other. Then later you can go do wild stuff together,
Yeah.
But when you're first getting to know an herb, get to know it one-on-one.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now you're talking about combinations. You're a cacao lover. I am a cacao lover. You're having a business and you're making cacao combinations with adaptogens. Why cacao?
With me, it's always about both flavor and function. So from the flavor side, a lot of these herbs have some exotic and very often bitter flavors to them, which for the modern Western palate can sometimes be a little difficult to deal with at first and take some getting used to, and can be a little bit of a barrier for some folks who can't really deal with some of these flavors. So the interesting thing is that if you combine these with chocolate is a rare food where it has bitter flavors and people are okay with it. It's like, it's a miracle. It's one food that for some reason people accepted it as bitter, I think because, combined with sugar, you lose some of the bitter flavor, but still people are okay with the dark chocolate having bitter flavor. And it's such a great palette of flavors there that the adaptogens with some more bitter flavors, like reishi mushroom, for example, can hide and kind of camouflage in there with it. And very often people won't even taste them or realize that it's a part of what's going on there. They may experience a little bit of some unique flavor notes with the combination, but it won't be as intense as just trying to take some of these herbs on their own. It's coming in with kind of a Trojan horse of something that they're going to be more familiar with. So it's great in that way, because I can't necessarily go up to just anybody and say, here, take this adaptogen or that adaptogen, because it's going to be a little too different from what they're used to, especially if it's somebody who's not already into health and open to this idea. But I can go up to anybody and say, would you like a piece of chocolate? People are open and ready and happy to receive.
I'm ready.
Right. Now, in terms of the function, there's also more going on there, because not only are we getting these herbs into the body flavor-wise, but cacao is a vasodilator. So it's going to improve your absorption of these herbs, and it's also an MAO inhibitor. And it's one of very few MAO inhibitors that are actually legal. Most of them are illegal.
Okay, what is that exactly?
So you have this compound in your body called monoamine oxidase. And so when you have a substance that comes into the body, it's been there for a while, eventually monoamine oxidase kicks it out of the body. It says, you've been here long enough, it's time to go. Now, when you have a monoamine oxidase inhibitor, this inhibits that monoamine oxidase. So think of it like this. Think of it like your body is a bar, and people come in, they stay there for a while, but eventually it comes closing time, and the bouncer has to go around and kick everybody out. Say, guys, I'm glad you've been here. It's great having you. We had a good time together. Now you got to go home. You got to leave. But what if some of those guests are actually very helpful? They're helping to clean up afterwards. They're putting all the chairs back. They're super cool. We might be okay with them staying around for a little longer, right? You don't need to kick them out. So the MAO inhibitor says, no, Mr. Bouncer, these guys are cool. They're helping clean up. They're doing good things around here. Let them hang out for a little bit longer. Yeah. So a monoamine oxidase inhibitor allows these herbs to stay in your system and keep working for a bit longer than they would have otherwise. So you're effectively magnifying the effect of the herbs that you're consuming with the chocolate. You're improving absorption and then improving duration of the effect. So it's very synergistic. And I just wanted to circle back to the second part of your question about the magnesium deficiencies. So magnesium is a super important mineral, and it's one that, I don't know the statistics for Europe or Central America per se, but I know in North America, you're looking at about 80% of people are chronically deficient in magnesium. the solution is right at hand. Cacao is the number one highest natural source of magnesium. And so that's amazing. And magnesium does so much for, I would say, at least three big problems that people have. One, people don't have enough energy. Magnesium plays a key role in the production of ATP, which is pure cellular energy. So magnesium can help you make more energy. And in a sense, magnesium is a little bit of an adaptogenic mineral. And the reason I say that is because magnesium is also very relaxing for the body. You can take magnesium in the morning to help make more energy. You can take magnesium at night to help relax your body and mind, to help you go to sleep. And so it's really beautiful in both of those ways. And the right forms of magnesium can have a bit of a laxative effect because so many people are chronically constipated. So it can help in that department as well.
Well, cacao. I love cacao.
Me too, brother.
Is basically that if you want to stop drinking coffee, you can change it for cacao, and you're gonna get the
as a coffee substitute,
rush of energy as well. And it's gonna be, I think, more healthy.
Theobromine is the primary stimulant in cacao, as opposed to the caffeine. You have very low levels of caffeine in cacao, and it has stimulant effects and definitely is energizing, but it's not so aggressively affecting your central nervous system in the way that you see with caffeine. So much, much gentler. For me, I know for several genetic reasons, I really don't do well with caffeine, but thank goodness I do just fine with the theobromine. It's very gentle on my system.
What is your favorite combination of cacao and adaptogens? Which are your favorite?
Reishi is one of the most spiritual herbs, and it is what's called in the Taoist system. We talked about the Jing, the deep core energy reserves. We talked a little bit about the Qi, your active moment to moment energy. But then the third treasure in this system is called the Shen. And this is your higher self. It's the light in your eyes. It's your spiritual self and your ability to have a beneficial effect on the world around you. And Reishi is traditionally considered one of the elite Shen tonics. And it was said to be able to guide you around the obstacles standing in between you and enlightenment. So Reishi, you can kind of think of it like enlightenment GPS. So it does stuff for your immune system. It does stuff for stress, but that's just the beginning. When you take Reishi over time, it really, some people will say that if you don't think Reishi is psychedelic, you haven't taken it for long enough. Because it takes you on this slow journey, and it's really spectacular. So I would put Reishi with cacao for all these reasons that I love it so much, but also because cacao really helps to mask the bitter flavors of reishi that can be an obstacle for a lot of people. Then if I'm allowed 3 other herbs in there to make this the most spectacular day possible, I would say let's put lion's mane mushroom for optimal focus and cognitive health. I'll put in there ashwagandha for hormone health and energy production. And then, I only get to do one more. Let me put 2 more. I'm gonna put now cordyceps also for another amazing energy production herb and immune support as well. And I think actually that's a good. Those 4. That's a really, really, really good lineup. So that would make for a beautiful day where you're feeling amazing, you're energized, you're not stressed, you're relaxed, and you are also protecting your long-term health at the same time.
Sage, is there something that we haven't covered already?
All these herbs, when you think about them individually, it can feel a bit chaotic. Like there's so many. How do I remember what they all do and how do they fit in? When we think about these 3 treasures, you have the Jing, the Qi, and the Shen. The Jing is like your deep core energy reserves. The Qi is like your active energy. So you have your Jing, which is your savings account, your Qi, which is your checking account. It's what you deposit to and withdraw from on an ongoing basis. But the ultimate purpose of life is not just to have a big number in your checking account. It's to have a beautiful effect on the world around you and to help others. And so that is the Shen. That's the 3rd treasure. It's the light in your eyes. It's your spiritual self. It's kind of like if you make a lot of money, you have a fat checking account, you have a fat savings account. What do? You set up a nonprofit to have a beneficial effect on others. So this is like your Shen is like your nonprofit. And so when we look at these herbs, you can find that some herbs are really good for your Jing. So this would be, for example, Hoshu Wu is an amazing Jing tonic herb. You see other herbs are really good for Qi. Astragalus, which we talked about, is a great chi tonic. And then you find herbs like reishi, which it's a shen tonic, but it's also even rarer. It's a 3 treasure herb. Reishi does jing, chi, and shen. So it's like one of the elite super tonic adaptogenic herbs. So I just like to always share with people this 3 treasure philosophy to give a nice framework to think about your health and to fit in all these herbs and how they work.
Sage, I want to thank you again. This is like a masterclass for adaptogens, and I'm really amazed about your knowledge and about all these herbs. I really appreciate your time and your
Thank you.
knowledge
It's
and
my pleasure.
sharing this. I just can tell the people, go to Addictive Wellness. Your chocolate is the most amazing thing I have ever tried. It's delicious, it's healthy, is spiritual. I can say it.
Thank you, Felipe,
So
and thank
yeah,
you for your kindness, your openness, your generosity of spirit, and your dedication to helping so many people.
yeah.
I really respect you a lot.
Thank you, bro. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. We're gonna keep doing this. We're gonna keep doing some
I would
more
love to.
podcasts about all this. I thank you, bro. Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.